How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ethan Bridge. I am host of the Social Media Marketing School podcast and the guy behind the Instagram page at The Marketing Ethan. Now, time and time again, I get some people direct message me on Instagram and go, look, okay, Ethan, I completely understand everything you're saying, but this is incredibly easy for you to say when you've built the following that you've already built. At the time of recording this episode, I'm actually sitting at around 18.8 thousand followers, and I understand that to many that may seem like quite a large, somewhat unattainable number. And I thought the same when I first started my account, and I sort of looked up to these other creators and thought from a similar perspective, as if to say, look, you can teach all of these topics now, but you're currently sitting at that follower count that you're at, and therefore it might just be easy for you to push out that content and know that it's going to perform. But because I was once in that position as well, I completely understand the journey between getting to that point of starting an audience from scratch and getting to the point in which I'm at today. I've gone through the journey, I've put in the processes, I've done the failures, I've had the successes, and that's ultimately what you've got to do. But I completely understand that at the very beginning of your journey, reaching that point that you currently see other people at can seem incredibly overwhelming. So in today's podcast episode, I want to throw it back and talk about some of the things that I would do if I had to start my account from 0 followers. Once again, like creating a new Instagram page. And although I learn a lot and have got the knowledge going forward now, which will give me an advantage, there are still things that I'm going to teach you in today's episode that you can implement as soon as you've finished listening to this episode. So, without any further ado, let's dive into some of the things that I would do if I had to start my Instagram page from scratch. Point number 1, I would engage way more than I did. I did a lot of engagement, but I would just double down because that is what worked in the very beginning, and I would build more genuine relationships. These two things coupled together really help that exponential growth and getting your account off the ground. Engagement, to begin with, we talk about it far too much on this podcast, but I try and repeat it over and over again to drum into your guys' brains that it is incredibly important. When you first create your account, nobody knows who you are, the algorithm doesn't know who you are, and therefore you can't just expect people to stumble across your page and become these loyal fans. In the very beginning, you have to do the outreach. You have to get yourself known within the community, and therefore to do that, you need to engage as much as you possibly can. And this is why I said that I would just double down on my engagement in the early stages, because that is what got my account off the ground. I was engaging for, at the very start, an hour and a half to sometimes 3 hours on some days. But if I had the time, I would just sit down and engage all day. As much time as I could possibly put into engagement, I would do it, because I know when you are brand new to Instagram and you haven't built that audience and you aren't gaining those followers organically through explore page reach, the suggested for you tab and hashtag reach, those sort of things that you can't control and it just happens as your account grows, your only way to really grow is through engagement. So I would double down and just engage as much as I possibly could. But I would do it in a way that I would build more genuine relationships, because it's these people that are going to continue to follow you throughout your journey, engage with your content, and lead to that exponential growth. You could do guest posts with them, you could go live with them, and then you're automatically integrating two audiences, which is going to help build up your audience. So when I was engaging, I wouldn't just be commenting upon commenting upon commenting. I would also be reaching out via DM and becoming friends with these individuals, building those real, genuine relationships, not just being someone that comments on each other's posts. Some might consider that a friendship, but I don't. You need to build that genuine relationship. You need to talk to them, show genuine interest in the individual, and become friends, essentially. Because you two are then going to be able to follow each other's journeys throughout and assist each other with your growth. So that engagement, I would double down, do way more than I did, but also in a way that I built genuine relationships with people so that I had that true loyal audience that I know are going to follow me throughout my journey, no matter what direction I go in. So point number 1, engage more, build those relationships. Point number 2, I would stop focusing so much on the short term. I was so focused on these vanity metrics and reaching that first 1,000 followers. And although these short-term goals are exciting and they're motivating and they're encouraging, especially when you do reach them, because they are milestones you should celebrate. But I would think far more long-term. You shouldn't be looking at these goals and going, right, I want to reach 1,000 followers in 7 days. It's one of those things that at the end of the day, it is just a vanity metric. And if you're building a genuine business and wanting to build that genuine following, then 7 days shouldn't really matter. The time you reach a milestone in has no real significance on the long term, because if you're going to stick around and build a business for 10, 20, 30 years, then however many followers you get in 7 days is just a fraction of that journey. You should be thinking about, right, if I carry this on every single day for the next 10, 15, 20 years, where am I going to be then? So don't get discouraged if one post one day doesn't perform very well, because that is just a blip in this entire journey that you've got ahead of you. Don't get discouraged if that one post just performs poorly in comparison to what you've been posting previously, because in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. It really, really doesn't mean anything. And this is where a lot of people will get discouraged, because they get 30, 45 days in, they've seen no real success, but it could have been the next 2 weeks that changed everything for them, or the next month, or the next 2. I don't know when your page is going to take off, but if you don't give yourself that opportunity by continuing and being consistent, then you're never going to see that progress and that exponential growth. So you owe it to yourself to continue your journey and make sure that you do reach that point of exponential growth, so that you can reap the rewards and experience that growth like those other creators that you looked up to in the very beginning. Because when you are consistent and that does eventually happen, that's when you get the encouragement, because you're seeing that it's working. You can think about, okay, that worked, let me try that again, or that didn't work, push that aside, and you can start to optimize everything you do so that you are optimizing your chances for success. And when you do see the success, it is incredibly encouraging, but you need to then carry forward that momentum and make sure that that continues for the long run. So to round up the point, I just want to repeat and say, don't focus on the short term. That one poor performance of a post, or if you lose a couple of followers in a day, really doesn't matter, because in the grand scheme of things, it means absolutely nothing. Think about where you're going to be 10, 15, 20 years down the line if you continue to be consistent on social media every single day and build those relationships and engage with the community, because that is the powerful outlet you need to have, because that is going to be what builds that business that you are building off of Instagram and leveraging that audience. So focus on the long term, don't think about the short term and get discouraged. Point number 3, I would make sure that I focused more on myself and my own personal development. When I first started out, I was sort of just creating content and putting it out and engaging only. But it wasn't really until I started investing in myself and reading and consuming content on how to better my copywriting, better my design, better my persuasion skills, all of these different aspects that build up a better creator, a better entrepreneur. That is when I began to see that exponential growth, because my content was able to improve as a result of me consuming all of this knowledge and working on my own personal development. If I hadn't worked to improve myself, then the output that I was having from content creation wouldn't have improved as a result. And you can see the improvement in my content. I've left all of my content up on my account. You can go back to day one. And when you look at day one, you'll think, this is rubbish. Every person, unless you're an incredible designer and you've been doing it for years already, or you're an incredible copywriter and you just haven't built an audience on social media yet, unless you're one of those individuals, 99% of people, their first pieces of content are going to be awful. I was definitely amongst that 99%. But if you go through my account, you can see it's a journey. Every single day, there's a slight improvement on the content I produced. up until the point I'm at today. And the thing I've been really focusing on recently is my storytelling and my copywriting. And I've been trying to get across the message within my content in the easiest way consumable by the person that is going to be reading it. And again, I'm not perfect at it. Will I ever be perfect? Probably not. But it's my duty to myself to work on that, to give myself the best opportunity to succeed. I need to read books, consume podcasts, look at blogs, analyze the best in the business that do it already. Because if I don't do that and I don't work on my personal development, then I'm always going to stay stagnant. I don't want to stay at the same level that I'm currently at. I want to work on myself so that I can improve what I do, so that those people consuming my content and are paying me for my products and services get better results. I owe it to those individuals that are paying me monthly retainers. So by consuming all this content, consuming all this knowledge, actually putting it to practice and executing all of which I've learned is only going to help me in the future. I hate how cliche the saying is, but I strive to be 1% better every single day, because I know that if I strive to be 1% better every single day, that improvement's going to compound over time, and as an individual, I'm going to grow way more than if I just focused on improving 1% every week. Focus on improving 1% every day. Really, really focus on that personal development and mental health and things like this. You've got to stay healthy. You've got to stay motivated. And optimizing your health and development, everything around that pillar needs to be worked on. Focus on yourself, and when you focus on yourself, you will see dramatic improvements, I promise. Now, moving on to the final point number 4, I would really focus on analyzing the competition, analyzing your peers. It's all good coming to me and asking me, why did you succeed? Why have you seen an exponential growth in your page? Why does your content do well? I can tell you certain things, but it's down to you to sort of pick apart my content and pick apart other people's content that is performing well and think to yourself, why did that do well? What did they change from the previous post that meant this one performed better than the last? Or have they changed something that's caused a decrease in their reach or a decrease in their engagement? Because you don't want to be doing those things. Go onto a competitor, go onto my feed and go through my entire journey of my content and see how I've improved over time. Why did I change certain things? Why did I sort of change the way I spoke about certain points? Why did my message change over time in the way that I delivered it in my content? Because when you can pick apart my content and analyze what I do and understand why I did it, you're going to be able to implement that into your own strategy and see the success for yourself. That doesn't mean you copy what I do, but it means you know the mechanics behind it so that you can implement that into your own work, your own strategy, and see those results for yourself. But you don't want to be doing that with just me. Do it with other creators. Have 10 or 15 different people that you consistently analyze and keep a track of to see what content they're creating, how they've changed their strategy over time. Because when you can understand all of these different things and take all of these different elements from all of these different creators and put them into your own strategy, you are going to see success much, much quicker because you avoid all of those failures that you would have had to test for yourself. Obviously, you're going to still make failures, and it's good to make failures because you learn from them and you won't make those mistakes again. But by taking and picking apart all of the people that are succeeding, you're going to streamline and propel that growth much quicker than you would have if you hadn't. So, final point, pick apart competitors, pick apart people that are succeeding and find out why it's working for them. Then take that why and implement it into your own strategy. And that wraps up the 4 things that I would do if I had to start my page from scratch. And that rounds up today's video. If you did enjoy today's video, I'd really, really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turned on post notifications. That way you will never miss a video when I post them. I just wanted to also mention that this is a part of my podcast series, Social Media Marketing School, and the audio version of the podcast is the place to be. Why? Because I actually release this content over on the audio version of the podcast a little bit sooner than I do here on YouTube. So if you want to consume the content sooner, make sure you're subscribing over there. I will leave some links in the description, so just scroll down and give them a click. But if you've got any questions with regards to anything I've mentioned in today's video, please just reach out to me on Instagram at themarketingethan. Send me a DM and I'll make sure I get back to you no matter what. But if you have made it to this point in the video, I just want to finish off by saying thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.